Hey guys, what's up? Plastic Guy here, coming back with another figure review, and today we're taking a look at this Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends The Amazing Spider-Man movie figure. And I'm pretty buzzing to have this here in hand. I've wanted this figure for quite some time, but he is rare as anything here in the UK. I've never seen one pop up in the UK on eBay where I get all these kind of older figures, and this one popped up the other day. I couldn't believe it and I absolutely jumped on it. Back when this movie came out in 2012, I was 12 years old and I really wanted to pick these figures up, the kind of standard Marvel Legends release. We don't have any Walmarts here in the UK. As far as I know, this thing did not release at all retail here in the UK, so never seen an unmasked one. I knew of the standard version, and back when I was 12 I really wanted to grab this thing. Never saw it in the comic stores or anything like that. Picked up the Marvel Select, which I love this figure. We'll take a closer look at it later on. So I had this one. This is the one I bought back then. And yeah, basically as I grew up, I just kept my eye out on eBay for these Marvel Legends movie figures. I eventually got this one, and now thankfully I've came across this unmasked head sculpt version, and I want to take a closer look at him here on the channel. So let's not wait any longer. Let me know down in the comment section below if you have this figure, if you're from the UK, if you know if this figure did release in the likes of Smith's or Toys R Us, if it was an alternative exclusive. Let me know down below, because as I said, as far as I know, this thing never released over here. Let me know what you think of this figure while you're down there. If you could do me a massive favour, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button. And let's not wait any longer, let's take a closer look at this Walmart exclusive The Amazing Spider-Man movie figure. So I don't think we've ever taken a proper look at the kind of standard version of this figure, and I picked this up on eBay pretty cheap, probably a few months before No Way Home released, and I'm not a massive fan of the figure. I mean, I'm not a big fan at all. Just I think the sculpt could be a bit better in terms of likeness from the movie. I mean, it's not bad at all, the sculpt, but I don't know, range of movement, articulation, not great at all. And on both of these figures, I don't know if they're maybe the same. Popping the head off in this one, it's fairly easy. This head would go onto this one. I always thought this was the standard release, but to be honest, this might be the Walmart exclusive just without the Andrew Garfield head. And the reason I say that is because the standard release came with a webbed weapon hand, and this one has the exact same hands. So not too sure if this is the standard version just without the Andrew Garfield head, or you know, if it is the standard version. Once again, the reason I think that is because both have the exact same hands, and as far as I can tell, on the standard version it came with a weapon hand, and that is a big annoyance I have with both of these figures. No alternative hands, no wall crawling hands, no weapon hands, just both a fisted hand and whatever the hell that hand is. So yeah, that's a bit of a downfall for this piece. As I mentioned, range of movement, the worst being in the kind of torso ab area here. There really just isn't any crunch, and yeah, it's annoying. The head sculpt, it's alright, yeah, it's not bad. Looking at the Marvel Select, I just love all the kind of textured detail on this figure. It's really nice. What I do like about the Marvel Legends is the silver on the shoes, and I actually got another Marvel Select for dirt cheap a couple years back, and I put some silver Sharpie on the boots and it looked great. But yeah, I don't know, it's not a bad figure, especially I guess if you go back to 2012. I mean, there was definitely worse figures at the time, but it's not held up very well at all. And so that brings us to the unmasked variant, and there's not much different going on. Oh, and I will say as well, the standard release, you got this webbed weapon accessory that we've seen over and over and over again at this point, but as far as I can tell, this was the first release of this web accessory, so they obviously think it's so good that they've been using it for over 10 years at this point. The Walmart exclusive version I don't think came with the web accessory. It came with this backpack, which is actually, you know, decent. Nothing wrong with this at all. All this kind of bright blue, and you've got the zips and things. Yeah, it's not bad. I do prefer the likes of the Peter Parker 2-pack with Ned Leeds. The backpack does look a lot better, more kind of realistic than this one here, but in terms of sculpt and things, this is fine. Don't mind it at all. Pretty cool accessory, to be honest. And we also get a skateboard, which is also a pretty cool accessory. Of course, we did see Peter Parker riding the skateboard a fair bit in the Amazing Spider-Man, all kind of battled up here. Battled up? It's early in the morning, but all kind of churned up and scraped on the bottom of the skateboard, and it does actually move about. Yeah, decent accessory again. The backpack and the skateboard is definitely pretty cool to get, and we get, of course, the alternative head. Now, this head sculpt doesn't actually look as good as the previous figure we were looking at. I think the sculpt and paint apps have came off better, and I'm just going to call it the standard release compared to this one. If I can hold it a bit better, you can see the eyes are just a wee bit off. It's not bad at all. We can actually swap the head sculpts over later on, but yeah, the alternative head, and I love that in a figure. I mean, I've said it so many times here on the channel, I love getting an alternative head sculpt, especially when it's the alter ego of the character, so like Bruce Wayne and Batman, Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Yeah, that's my jam, and some of my favourite figures that I own are the Toy Biz 2002, 2004 movie figures, and getting those Tobey Maguire head sculpts and the likes of the Pizza Scooter Spider-Man and the Wrestler Spider-Man here. Absolutely love it, and I guess this is the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man version of the Scooter Pizza Spider-Man, of Wrestler Spider-Man. This is Andrew Garfield's time to shine, and it's a lot better than I thought it would be. I don't know, when I went into buying this figure, I wanted an Andrew Garfield head sculpt because I don't have one at all. I don't have any custom head sculpts, which of course cost quite a bit of money, talking about £30 alone just for a custom head sculpt. Didn't have this figure, didn't have any of the Marvel Select Andrew Garfield head sculpts, and so I bought this as soon as I saw it, but then I kind of had this feeling that it wasn't going to be that great. I mean, as I said, not a big fan of the standard figure to begin with. Not too much different going on here, but the Andrew Garfield head sculpt, and I just had this impression that the head sculpt wasn't going to be that great, and I totally take it back. I think this is actually fairly decent. I think it's got a good likeness to Andrew Garfield. I think I could easily guess who that was if, you know, it was just off the sculpt here. You know, if you just showed me this out of nowhere, I could probably guess that was Andrew Garfield. I think there is a strong likeness. The eyes are a bit off. I think he's pretty tanned as well here. He's definitely not that tanned in the film. And I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, I think this is good. I'm actually really happy with it. I'm happy to get this Andrew Garfield head sculpt. And what I really wanted from this was to be able to take this head sculpt off, put it on the new Marvel Legends that will be coming out from the 3-pack, put it on the Amazing Spider-Man 2-buck, things like that. And it had a really weird sort of, well, it didn't have a really weird, but it has this peg for the head, so it's just this kind of smaller peg rather than a ball joint that we get on the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure. So if I pop that off, you see we've got this big ball joint here. There was no way that that was going on with just the tiny wee hole for the peg there. So I grabbed my drill and yeah, just drilled a bigger hole in it, and it fits pretty well now. I actually think it looks pretty good. I've taken some photos for my Instagram and things, so I'll post them shortly, but yeah, that definitely does the trick for me now. I think that looks really good. And although I do have my problems with this Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie figure, I do think it's better than the Amazing Spider-Man 1 Marvel Legends figures. So yeah, I'm happy now that I've kind of customed it a bit. It fits on there, it looks really good, and I highly recommend doing that yourself if you were kind of on the same lines as me, wanted an Andrew Garfield head sculpt, you come across this Amazing Spider-Man 1 movie figure. That's an 8mm drill bit hole, so yeah, you can work your way up to that. and it will fit on the likes of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie figure. I've not really tried it on any other figure. I've just popped the Amazing Spider-Man Marvel Select head sculpt off, and that looks absolutely nightmare fuelish, so we'll just forget that that ever happened. But yeah, I'll try it on some other figures, maybe post it on my Instagram. But yeah, it's a good fit for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure, and what I've just done for the Amazing Spider-Man 1, put some blue tack around the peg, and the head sculpt goes back on absolutely no problem. So yeah, like, pretty chuffed with the Andrew Garfield likeness, pretty chuffed with the head sculpt overall, and then it's back on this body. So I mean, there is a lot of texturing going on, it looks really nice. I do really like the spider logo, the biceps are pretty big, you get the fisted hand, which is fine. I do like the web shooters, you can see that they're painted on there, they look really good. Yeah, I mean, the sculpt is there, the paint's there, like, I do like the colours and everything. I think the biggest downfall for this piece is the range of movement and articulation. And as I said, there was a lot worse figures back in 2012, especially from Marvel Legends, but yeah, it still just isn't great. I do like the back logo. I mean, I love the Amazing Spider-Man 1 costume. I've not actually said that yet in this video, but I don't know in my rankings where this would be, but it would probably be pretty high. I like how unique it is, how different it is, and I think it pays off really well. I think it still holds up, and I think it suits Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. So I do like having it in figure form. I think if there was a better crunch here to really get him into those web swinging poses and things, it would be a lot better, but it is a bit of a tricky figure. It's hard to get him in cool poses and things, in my experience anyway, and I do prefer the Marvel Select overall, but yeah, it's decent. I mean, if you know what you're getting into, I'd definitely pick it up. I wouldn't say it's a must-have. I would probably go for the Marvel Select over this, especially because most of the time you can get Marvel Select figures for fairly cheap. I mean, I always come across them for like less than £20 on eBay. They retail at about £22, so yeah, I would pick up the Marvel Select before this one, but it's decent. I'm happy with it, especially with the unmasked head sculpt here. Speaking of Marvel Select so much, let's just put them next to one another here. So here is our Marvel Legends next to the Marvel Select, and I don't think either one of these figures perfectly captures the Amazing Spider-Man from the movie. The yellow in the eyes are like super bright, which isn't very accurate. The blue here I don't think is as accurate as the Marvel Legends. The build on both of these guys just seems a bit off, really bulky here, he looks absolutely ripped, and then this one here looks a bit on the, you know, the left side, and it's just kind of odd proportions the way he's standing. Yeah, I mean, both are okay, I wish I had the money back then to pick up a Figma or Mafex. I don't think there even was a Mafex. I think there's the Figma, and I can't remember the other one. Was it SH Figuarts? I can't remember, but there's some great import The Amazing Spider-Man movie figures that blow these two out of the water. If you're on a budget, if you're wanting to pick up an Amazing Spider-Man movie figure and you're trying to choose between these two, I would probably go Marvel Select, but neither of these guys are perfect. Both are decent, and I'd probably pay maximum £20 for either of them. Even the £20 mark for the Marvel Legends, I don't know if it's worth it. Because of the age of them, the rarity of them, I think the £20 mark is justified, but in terms of quality, Marvel Legends have came a long way, let's just say that. And then for an unmasked movie Spider-Man comparison, we have our 2002 Wrestler Toy Biz Spider-Man Tobey Maguire movie figure, and I think the likeness on this figure is really good. The reason I picked this one is because the Peter Parker likeness, the Tobey Maguire likeness here, is pretty spot on. I mean, even to this day I would argue that this is pretty solid, and the fact that this came out 10 years before the Amazing Spider-Man one is kinda scary. I mean, we've seen how far figures have come from 2012 to we're now in 2023. This is 10 years, 2002 to 2012, and not much has changed. I mean, looking at these two, there isn't any vast improvements going on here, and I think that kind of means they work well together, to be honest. I mean, we've got our Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Marvel Legends, and these two don't look too out of place next to one another. They actually suit each other pretty well, which is funny because this is obviously meant to be a lot more sculpted. This had this kind of wrestler suit gimmick to it where you would pop bits off. It's not got much articulation, and you can say the same for this Marvel Legends figure here, even though this was meant to be a lot more of a standard superposable figure. But yeah, I'm happy with how these guys look next to one another, and I'd definitely pose them next to one another. I think they look pretty good. And then we have the Amazing Spider-Man 1 movie figure next to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie figure from Marvel Legends, and as I kind of said earlier, both of these have their issues, but this one definitely has a lot better range of movement, and that's why I wanted this head sculpt for this figure here, which I swapped over earlier. And if you want to see some more of that going on, some of this head sculpt on the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie figure, then feel free to hop on over to my Instagram. I'll leave the link in the description below. So you can get the head moving without it coming off the peg about that far up and about that far down. You can move it left and right, and of course move it all the way around. Get the arm moving about that far up, so right angle, that far in at the body, all the way around, upper bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow there, get the wrist moving backwards, forwards, and rotate that around. So not too bad in the arm, same articulation here. And then yeah, the body's just kind of crap. You can pivot it left and right, backwards about that much, and only about that far forward, which I think is the biggest downfall with this piece, and especially with the legs as well, because you can only get the leg kicking about that far forward, about that far back, go about that far out the way. Really not much movement at all. Double jointed knees, get the foot moving backwards and forwards, and it will pivot around as well. And so there we have it for this Amazing Spider-Man Walmart exclusive Andrew Garfield movie figure. And I think it's pretty good. I mean, as I said earlier, I probably wouldn't pay any more than about £20. Because of how rare this one is here in the UK, I'd probably spend up to about 25. But yeah, this figure has its downfalls, mostly being age, and I guess at that point inexperience from Marvel Legends. They've definitely learned a lot since 2012. I mean, we can tell that from all the kind of MCU figures we're getting now, all the comic figures and how far the articulation is going. I mean, Marvel Legends are releasing some fantastic figures nowadays. This one, even back then, I remember thinking it wasn't that great, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, especially with the accessories, the skateboard and backpack are pretty great. And as I said, the reason I wanted to pick this thing up was for that Andrew Garfield head sculpt, and I'm actually pretty impressed with it. I think it's a lot better than I expected. The likeness is there. I'm really happy with that Andrew Garfield head sculpt. Let me know what you guys think of the Andrew Garfield head sculpt. The standard body, yeah, I've said what I've said about it. It's just it's got its limitations, which is annoying, but I mean, the sculpt's there and it does accurately represent the movie for the most part, so I'm not gonna crap on it too much. If you want to pick up this figure, if you need an Amazing Spider-Man movie figure in the collection, this thing's there, but you could definitely get better. But once again, it would be more expensive. So let me know what you guys think of this figure down in the comment section below, especially the head sculpt. I would love to know your thoughts on it. While you're down there, guys, as always, if you could do me a massive favour, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button. As I said, I'll leave the link to my Instagram in the description below, where I'll definitely be posting pictures of this figure up over there, so it would mean a lot if you could go check that out. And it means a lot that you've checked out this video right here. Feel free to hop on over to the channel page. There are plenty of other Spider-Man videos, lots of other figure reviews, sticker pack openings and things going on at the moment, so it would be so sick if you could hop on over there and support the channel a wee bit more. But as I said, fantastic that you've watched this video right here. Thank you so much, guys, and as always, I'll catch yous on the flip-flop later. Cheers.